Hello and welcome to everybody on Cloud Fitness. So in today's video, again, I'm going to talk about workspace in Azure Databricks for data engineering, data science, machine learning, as well as your SQL workspace in Databricks. So let's move on to the portal actually to, I'll give you a portal walkthrough. We will, create Azure Databricks Workspace through the Azure portal, and I'll just give you the walkthrough of, all these three workspaces that are available along with Azure Databricks. Because in my previous video, I have explained to you that Azure Databricks offers a collaborative, unified environment where your data engineers, data analyst, data science and machine learning folks, everybody can come together and play with the data, right? So they have different environments to work on, and we will see where you can see these environments. So let's move on to the portal. I will go to the Azure portal over here. Now I already have Azure Databricks service, but for now I'll create a new resource over here. So you can go ahead, click on this create new resource in the portal, or you can directly search in Databricks here, right? You can simply type in Databricks and you will see that you come up with this Azure Databricks service, right? Now if you click here, you can click on this create option. So this is my previous Azure Databricks, right? And this is a resource group under which it was created for location of Central US. Now if I click on this create option over here, you will see that I have to choose my subscription. So everything, all these details related to subscription, resource groups, and I have been talking about in my lots of previous videos, so I would not repeat it again. So I have this resource group already created, RG Databricks, or you can create a new one as well. If you want to create a new one, just type in the name here and you will be done with it. So now you have to enter your workspace name. So now let me type in workspace YouTube demo 01, right? And this name has to be globally unique, and then you have to provide the region. So let me provide Central US as the region. Pricing tier. So now there are different tiers here. So you can choose your standard one, you can choose your premium one, you can choose the trial as well, you can choose the trial version as well. So for now I'll just keep it as standard. Now if I go to the next networking part, you don't need to understand more. If you are from the data engineering background, it's fine. I have made some videos on networking part. You can watch that out, and those are pretty much okay to know. And then let me click on review and create. So this tags option, if you want, you can just put any kind of tag. So let's say if you want to put it let's say you are working in an organization where you have different projects. So here you basically mention something like this project ID, and then you mention the value, which project does it belong to. It might belong to project 1, 2, 3. So like this. Now once you do this while creating a resource, what happens is during the billing, right, they can just filter on this value and they will get to know for which project basically how much bill has come for each resource, or things like that. There are multiple things that you can do from here, like project ID or environment, different tags you can add over here. But for now, if I click on review and create, you will see it will start validating. Now once it validates, I will click on create option and it will start the deployment, right? It will start creating Azure Databricks Workspace for you. So now by the time this deployment is in progress, we are not going to waste our time for this deployment. What I'll do is I will go back to my Azure Databricks that I already have. So if I click on this Azure Databricks, one deployment is in progress. If you can see over here a bell icon over here, if I click here, you will see that there is deployment to resource group in progress, right? It is running, but now this is already deployed. So if I click over here, and this is the workspace, so you will see that this is Azure Databricks service. The name is Bhavna Bedi. I have named the workspace with my name itself, right? And this is the URL. So you can click on this URL directly. If you click on this URL, you will move to the workspace, or you can click on this launch workspace option as well. So both these options are available. Now pricing tier. So if you remember, while selecting just now, I had clicked on standard. So similarly, you have something called as premium as well here. Right now, let me click on this launch workspace over here. Now the moment I click on launch workspace, you will see that it will start signing in to the workspace, and this is the same URL. What you see here is the same URL which you see over here, right? This is the same URL. So if I go back to the Databricks, now you see this is how the Databricks UI looks like, right? The very first thing that you see over here is this. So on the front page you see notebook, right? We will talk about notebooks as well. You see data import. So from notebook, just understand it is a place where you have to write your code or where you can play with the data. Data import, this is a place, or this is some kind of functionality to import your data, to get the data, right? Partner connect. Now if you want to connect to any third party, right? If you want to connect to, let's say, Tableau or Power BI, this is what this partner connect is for, right? And these are some tutorials. If you want, you can just click on start tutorial. Now let's see how does it look like. I've just clicked on the start tutorial. Now it will just give you a tutorial of quick start notebook, basically how does it work and all. We will talk about this later. Let me go back. Now you see, and here in the recents you will see these are the notebooks which I would have opened recently, right? So I was preparing content, so I have opened these notebooks. So you can see all these notebooks are available here, correct? Now if I go to the left hand side, now the moment I brought my mouse to the left hand side, you will see that there is an option of data science and engineering. And there is a drop down here. If I click on this, you see that there are three options here: data science and engineering, machine learning, and SQL. So this is why Databricks is also called Unified Data Analytics Platform, because you have your data science engineering team can work here, machine learning team can work here, and then you have your data analyst who usually work on SQL. So you have your SQL workspace also here. So right now if you see data science and engineering, this is in the red, right? So we are currently in the data science and engineering workspace. So now here if I click on data science and engineering, I am already in the data science and engineering workspace. You have couple of options over here in the left hand side, right? Now in this data science and engineering workspace, if I click on this, right, this notebook kind of a symbol, if I click, this is basically a workspace. Now inside this workspace, the moment you click on this workspace, right, you have something called as users. So users are basically the people who have access to this Databricks workspace. Now this is basically right now I am the one, this is my account, I'm just using it, nobody else has access to it. If I provide anybody access to my workspace, that user can be seen here. So when you work in your organization where you have 30 different people working in the same workspace, you will see the name of each and every person over here, right? This shared workspace is essentially, if you have some notebooks which you want to share with everybody, whosoever logs in, then in that case you can keep your notebooks inside this shared folder. So this is basically nothing but this is just the folder. If you see, you can okay, I'll talk about this later. So basically in this shared place you can keep all your data, all your code if you want to share. Otherwise you can keep it inside your own users. So each user will have their own folder over here. So if it is Bhavna, she will have her own folder here. If it is, let's say, Akshay, he will have his own folder here, and he can just write his code and play around in his own folder. If Akshay wants to share some data with me, he can actually place it in the shared folder, or there are other ways as well, which I'll talk about in the next video. Similarly, you have something called as repos. Now this repo is nothing but version controlling. Right, for version controlling also I'll make a very good separate video on it. For repos, if you want to integrate it to the Git, if you want to integrate it to Azure DevOps, you can integrate through this repos option. So you have a version controlling option also here. Right here, basically what you do is you have an option to add a repo. Now the moment you do it, you clone your remote Git repo, right? You have your Git repo URL over here, and you can choose from the Git provider. Are you using Azure DevOps, you are using Bitbucket, or you are using GitLab? So based on that you can choose, and you have your version controlling as well here. Similarly, recents, just ignore. This is more about what are the recent notebooks that you have opened. Now search workspace, yeah, is essentially, it's just a search option. You don't need to think much about that. Similarly, you have something called as data. Now in this data tab also, this is something that we will use very often. Now this data tab will basically have your database tables and DBFS. Each of these two things I'm going to talk about in detail, but this data tab, just remember, it holds some table and it has a data which we are going to play around, right? So it is a store for the data. Now don't think too much, it's just hold on, we will have a look at each and everything in very detail moving forward, but right now you just need an overview. Compute. So compute, since I already told about the map reduce in my previous video, we need some machines to work on, right? We need some in-memory computation. So that in-memory computation comes from this compute. And although, by the way, if you have not watched my previous video on map reduce, do watch it, because that is the basic start of the Databricks. And also if you are interviewing for Google, right, for data engineering role, in that case, do remember map reduce is a question which is definitely going to get asked from you, because map reduce is the basic, and it was actually started by Google itself, so they are definitely going to ask you about this map reduce concept. So do remember to watch that video out. And this compute option basically defines the in-memory computations, how we are going to do in-memory computations. So that kind of configuration selection comes under compute option here. Jobs, basically when you create the whole your transformation and everything, and you want that transformation to run at a particular time every day or every week, in that case you create a job, and that is why you have this job option here. So I have explained you pretty much about this data science and engineering workspace, and similarly this the settings option, in fact let it be, I think that's not much needed as of now, but yeah, user setting, admin console. So if you are an admin, you will see this admin console, otherwise you will not see this admin console. User settings, if you go, these are some basic user settings which we will actually use in the coming videos, so that is the time, I think that will be a good time to explain these. But now if you see, this was the explanation of data science and engineering. But if you go to the SQL over here, right, SQL, let me click on SQL. So SQL is basically for data analyst. So the moment you click on this Databricks SQL option, you will see this portal will appear. Now this is how Databricks for SQL Analytics looks like, right? Now what do data analysts do? Data analysts, they don't need to write whole lot of code, and they don't need to play around with the data, right? They just need a transformed, a well prepared data, and they just want to build some dashboards out of it, right, for analytics purpose. Now for that, you have this workspace where you have very defined data sets, where data engineers can prepare the, okay, let me open this. So here in the data science and engineering workspace, what will happen is data science and engineering team, right, they are going to get the result sets, right? Data engineers will get the transformed data, they will get the data sets, and then SQL team, data analyst team, will actually go to the SQL workspace, and they are going to use that data sets to build the dashboards. And that is what the SQL Analytics workspace is used for. So if you see, it has an option of SQL query editor. So SQL is skill for a data analyst. Now what happens is, now you have the data from the data engineering team. What they do is they create the data, they load the data in form of tables, right? And then data analysts can go ahead and they can query those tables. So that is why you have SQL query editor. Then you have something called as sample dashboards. So this is just a sample, but then they can use those queries to generate the sample dashboards. Then they can connect to Power BI or any Tableau, these kind of tools as third-party tools they can connect to if they want, right? Now this is how it actually works here. Now if you go to the left hand side, you see it is a little different from what you saw in the data engineering space, data engineering and data science space. Here you have something called a SQL editor, queries, dashboard, alerts, data, SQL endpoints, query history. So now let me do one thing. Let me go to dashboards first, because I'll show you how output looks like. So okay, this was created by me quite I think last year. So let me just open some default one test YouTube. Let me open that. I don't know what I did, but yeah, I don't remember. So if you see, here is some weird chart. Okay, so this was a data set. This is an iris flower data set. So I use this data to create some visuals, right? So this is how a dashboard looks like. So using the data provided by data engineers, the data analyst can actually, you know, query can query that data and build dashboards out of it, and they look something like this. You know, if you have you know, schedule, so now if you can actually build live dashboards as well, dashboards as well, in the sense that, you know, if the data is coming continuously, if your data is getting loaded into the table continuously, right, in that case your dashboard will also change the values accordingly. So you have these things here, and then you can download it as a PDF, and a lot of other things are there. Now if I go back, so don't worry about this part, we will talk about this later. Also, if I go to this queries tab here, let me click on one query. Now you will see that this is how you can actually query the data set, right? It's okay, it's taking some time to open. So if you see, this is how you query the data set. Like, so this is a table named as diamonds, right? So this is the table, and this is the query which has been run, and this is the output, right? So similarly, you know, you can create dashboards from here itself. You know, you can click on add visualization, and you can create all the, you know, visuals from this. Also, if you see on the top hand side, QFG, some weird name. Okay, I only kept this weird name. So this is basically, you know, you have to run query on some kind of machine, right? You have to have some kind of compute power. So that compute power is actually this is SQL endpoint. This is called as SQL endpoint, right? So to run this query, you need a machine which is provided by the SQL endpoint to you. Similarly, you know, all the tables that are created by your data science or the you know, data engineering particularly team, those tables will appear here. You can query it and build the dashboards out of it. So this is how your you know, SQL workspace looks like. Also, now you know, I have a limited time. I cannot go and explain each and everything about SQL endpoints in this video, but yeah, I have already created one video. Let me show you. If you see, if you will type Cloud Fitness SQL Analytics Workspace, you will actually see that this is the video that I created 5 months back. Databricks SQL Analytics Workspace, right? Here, you know, everything is mentioned in detail. Yeah, here everything is actually mentioned in quite you know, a lot of detail. Here I am creating data, you know, tables from the data engineering workspace, and then I'm querying it from the SQL Analytics workspace. So you can go ahead and watch this video. It is much in detail. It will be very helpful for you. Now if I go back, so this is you know, much about your SQL workspace. And the third thing is the machine learning. Now if I talk about this machine learning workspace, essentially I have not worked on machine learning part at all, right? So I am not a machine learning expert, but yes, you know, there you have something. It is definitely different from your data science and your you know, SQL part of it. You have something called as auto ML here, which is basically used to train your models. You have your experiments, your feature stores, your model, typically for the machine learning folks over here. So that is why, since I'm not an expert on this, I'm not going to talk in very much detail about this machine learning at all, right? So, but yeah, most of the other stuff is same compared to the data engineering. It has a workspace, it has repos, you know, it has data tab, it has compute tab, it has job tab. So these are the three workspaces that you have in the Databricks. These are the three environments that we have in the Databricks. So I hope you like this video. Basically, for our purpose, since we are you know, data engineers, and I'm going to talk only about data engineering here, so I am going to use this data science and engineering workspace over here. But yeah, I might use SQL workspace as well, right? So if I click on the data science and engineering, this is the workspace that we will be working on. If till now you have not created your Databricks workspace, I do recommend creating it and just play around. Just play around. If you have any questions, do let me know in the comment section, and remember to subscribe, like and share, because YouTube analytics, it shows that most of the, you know, viewers on my channel, they are like non-subscribers. So I, you know, do request you all to just subscribe to my channel, and do let me know in the comment section if you have any questions. So thank you so much for being till here. Thank you so much.